Welcome to Bookmas. My name is Tammy, and this is where characters gather. And today we are going to talk about something I've had under wraps since the end of September, beginning of October, and that is my personal Read Your Life challenge. I got the idea from Stormy Reads. I will link her video down below. I did find the original video for this challenge. However, I'm not doing the original video for this challenge. The original video wanted you to read a novel and not repeat an author in the entire challenge. As a mood reader, that isn't going to work for me. I know myself well enough to know my life is long enough that I have a wide choice to choose from. So I'm going to read what I want to read. My only personal stipulation is that it isn't a novel I have previously read. It could be an author I've previously read, but not a novel I've previously read, or a nonfiction. I don't care if it's nonfiction or fiction or a devotional, just, published in my lifetime. That is the requirement here. And I have done the research for all of the years, I believe, up till 2012, maybe. And it has been fascinating just doing the research. So on Goodreads, you can search books published in a particular year. And unfortunately, it ranks them in popularity, and it is not the most user-friendly. You can't narrow it by genre. You can't narrow that list down anymore. So it is a lot of scrolling to find something you're going to be interested in. However, you do begin to see trends repeat themselves in fiction if you've lived long enough. And it's kind of comforting to know that nonsense happens on a cyclical nature and it burns itself out. And some of it doesn't last very long. So there's always hope at the end of a insane cycle of publication. So that was refreshing. And I am periodically going to share books from years they were published that I'm interested in. It does not mean that I'm going to read that particular book for that particular year. It's, I have multiple selections for every year, and that fits, the mood reader in me. We all know I'm a huge mood reader. I'm also not going to force myself to read them in chronological order. Again, the mood reader in me would not get along with that theory. However, I am going to try every year, because obviously this is a yearly increase to the list, knock out at least 12 books every year. So if I only do 12 books every year, I would knock out everything by the time I'm 60. I would have to read 13 books one year to do that, but that's perfectly doable. And then I will have completed that challenge. And it is much more likely to be finished than, even though it's essentially the same thing, 60 books I want to read by the time I turn 60. It's a unique little spin. So here are a selection of physical books on my shelf, and I have books on Audible. I have books on Kindle for this. I have been using credits on Audible to get books. Some of these books are so old they are not available, or they're only available at ridiculous prices in a poor quality used mass market paperback that's very expensive, and it's a very thick book, so it's not going to read well for me in a mass market paperback, so I will listen to it. And a lot of these books I have pulled from my shelves. It's a variety of genres, it's a variety of authors, it's a variety of lengths. Some of them are obviously, most of them are thick. We all know that. So, okay. These are in no particular order, but way. These are just the physical books right now. First up would be Taliesin by Stephen R. Lawhead. This is the first in the Pendragon Cycle series, and this was published in 1987. As you know, I was supposed to read this in 2024, and the Daily Wire is releasing a Pendragon Cycle miniseries. I want to read the first book before that happens, so this is probably showing up sooner rather than later. I know I said that last year. Don't remind me. Okay, next up, and this makes it onto the list because Lou assures me it's good. And I trust Lou's judgment, so that would be Wolf Hall by Hilary Mantel. I have tried to read this a couple of times and it didn't work. I'm hoping it was my mood at the time. I trust Lou. And this was published in... When was this published? ...2009. And this is the story of Henry VIII and Cromwell. So it is right up my alley. It is a book I should like. So we shall see. Next up is a book from 1982. That is The Valley of Horses by Jean M. Auel. I own books 2 through 5 of these. It's a 6-book series, and books 2 through 5 I've gotten through my library bookshop. They all have the same hardcover artwork style. They all look like they belong together. I'm trying to get books 1 and book 6 to match. I have read book 1, which is The Clan of the Cave Bear. So I can't count that when I do this series, but I need to reread it. I read it when it, close to the time in which it was published. It's been decades, and I need to reacquaint myself before I read Valley of the Horses. So that needs to happen. Next up would be Silver on the Tree. This is the final book in the Dark Rising sequence. This is middle grade fiction. It is by Susan D. Cooper, and this was published in 1977. And I didn't read this as a child. I didn't enjoy fantasy as a child, and this is definitely middle grade fantasy. It's definitely clean. I have enjoyed the first books of the series. I also have the other book I haven't read in the series on this list, and that is The Grey King. And this was published, I believe, in 75. So, and the 5th book is a Newbery winner. So, that series is very good. It is great middle grade read. Okay, last 2 physical books. First up would be The Dragonbone Chair by Tad Williams. This is the first book in the Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn series. This was published in 1988. I have read 2 chapters in this for a 2x2x2 which if I can find the video, I will link down below. The writing is gorgeous. Those first 2 chapters were so engaging. I am looking forward to this one. It is a trilogy. There are more books after this in this world, so I will read you the back of this one. A war fueled by the powers of dark sorcery is about to engulf the peaceful land of Ostenard. For Prester John, the High King lies dying, and with his death, the Storm King, the undead ruler of the elf-like Scythie, seizes the chance to regain his lost realm through a pact with the newly ascended king. Knowing the consequences of this bargain, the king's younger brother joins with a small, scattered group of scholars, the League of the Scroll, to confront the true danger threatening Ostenard. Simon, a kitchen boy from the royal castle, unknowingly apprenticed to a member of this league, will be sent on a quest that offers the only hope of salvation, a deadly riddle concerning long-lost swords of power. Compelled by fate and perilous magics, he must leave the only home he's ever known and face enemies more terrifying than Ostenard has ever seen, even as the land itself begins to die. And I was wrong, this is not the last 2 books. It's the last 3 books. So, next up would be the first appearance of sci-fi on this list. I know, shocking. And this was published in 1976. That is The Children of Dune by Frank Herbert. This is the 3rd book in the original Dune trilogy. It is the one I have yet to read. And I will not be surprised if this shows up on Dave's 25 and 2025 list. I needed a break from Dune after Dune Messiah, so I am looking forward to this, even if it's with a little bit of trepidation after Dune Messiah. So I will read you the flap. The children of Dune are twin siblings, Leto and Ganima Atreides, whose father, the Emperor Paul Medib, disappeared in the desert wastelands of Akaris 9 years ago. Like their father, the twins possess supernormal abilities, making them valuable to their manipulative aunt Alia, who rules the empire in the name of House Atreides. Facing treason and rebellion on 2 fronts, Alia's rule is not absolute. The displaced House Carino is plotting to regain the throne, while the fanatical Fremen are being provoked into open revolt by the enigmatic figure known only as the Preacher. Alia believes that by attaining the secrets of the twins' prophetic visions, she can maintain control over her dynasty. But Leto and Ganima have their own plans for their visions and their destinies. So, it will be an interesting read. We shall see. We shall definitely see. Okay, last up. That would be a book published in 1989. That would be The Pillars of Earth by Ken Follett. And this is the story. This is the first publication book in the Kingsbridge series. It is not the first chronological book in the Kingsbridge series. Again, I was supposed to read that this year and I didn't. So those books are going to show up repeatedly in the Read Your Life Challenge. The Pillars of Earth tells the story of Philip, prior of Kingsbridge, a devout and resourceful monk driven to build the greatest Gothic cathedral the world has known. Of Tom, the mason who becomes his architect, a man divided in his soul. And of beautiful, elusive Lady Alenia, haunted by a secret shame. And of a struggle between good and evil that will turn church against state and brother against brother. A spellbinding tale of ambition, anarchy, and absolute power set against the sprawling medieval canvas of 12th century England. I so want to read this book. It's almost 1,000 pages, but it is very high on my priority list, regardless of this challenge. So, there you go. Okay, Next up would be all the non-physical books. Okay, first up, this would be on my Nook. I bought this 2020. I haven't read it yet. Any negative comments about this book or its subject matter will be deleted, so don't bother. That would be Sacagawea by Anna Lee Waldo. I remember my mom reading this when I was growing up. This was published in 1984. It is only available in mass market paperback, and it is 1,424 pages in mass market paperback format. Needless to say, no, I cannot do that. Just cannot do that. So I'll read you the blurb. Clad in a doeskin, alone and unafraid, she stood straight and proud before the onrushing forces of America. Again, publishers, do you read your notes before you put them on Goodreads? Because this is a mess. Sacagawea, a child of a Shoshone chief, lone woman on the Lewis and Clark historic track. Beautiful spear of a dying nation. She knew many men, walked many miles, from the whispering prairies, across the Great Divide to the crystal-capped Rockies, and on to the emerald promise of the Pacific Northwest. Her story overflows with emotion and action, ripped from the bursting fabric of a raw new land. 10 years in the writing, Sacagawea unfolds an immense canvas of people and events, and captures the eternal longings of a woman who always yearned for one great passion, and always it lay beyond the next mountain. Recreates the life and legend of the Shoshone Indian as she struggles to survive among hostile tribes and is forced to become the wife of a French trader, and plays a pivotal role in the journeys of Lewis and Clark. I've wanted to read this for a long time. It's on my Nook. You know, it's 1,400 plus pages, so it isn't going to be a sit down and read it over a weekend kind of book, but it doesn't change the fact that I'm highly interested in it. Next up is The Snow Queen by Joan D. Vinge. This is the first book in the Tiamat series. I have this on my Audible account. And this is science fiction. And I will read you the blurb. The Snow Queen marks the first time this book has been reprinted in 15 years. The imperious winter colonists have ruled the planet Tiamat for 150 years, deriving wealth from the slaughter of the sea mares. But soon the galactic stardate will close, isolating Tiamat, and the 150-year reign of the summer primitives will begin. Their only chance at surviving the change is if Aaron Horde, the ageless, corrupt Snow Queen, can destroy destiny with an act of genocide. Aaron Horde is not without competition, as Moon, a young summer tribe Sibyl, and the nemesis of the Snow Queen, battles to break a conspiracy that spans space, interstellar politics, a millennia-long secret conspiracy, and a civilization whose hidden machineries might still control the fate of worlds, all form the background to this spectacular hard science fiction. So, I am very interested in this book. Just very interested in that book. This is also on Audible. This is The Bastard by John Jakes. This is the first in the Kent Family Chronicles series. And this series, I think all of John Jakes books are very hard to get a hold of. They're only available in mass market paperback. They're expensive when you do find them. So this one is on Audible for me. It was published in 1974. One man's quest for his destiny leads him to the New World and into the heart of the American Revolution. Meet Philippe Charambeau, the illegitimate son and unrecognized heir of the Duke of Kentland. Upon the Duke's death, Philippe is denied his birthright and left to build a life of his own. Seeking all that the New World promises, he leaves London for America, shedding his past and preparing for the future by changing his name to Philip Kent. He arrives at the brink of the American Revolution, which tests his allegiances in ways he never imagined. So this is, I believe, 8-volume series, and I love John Jake's North and South. I cannot imagine I won't love this series, and when I do listen to it, I will undoubtedly be using credits to buy the rest. So, next up would be A Clubbable Woman by Reginald Hill. This is the first in the DL and Pasco series. I have not read the book, however, I have watched the DL and Pasco series. I'm not sure where it's streaming these days. If you ever see it, it's just a great time capsule series, and I am so looking forward to this. This book was originally published in 1970. I'll read you the blurb. Home from rugby club after taking a nasty knock in a match, Conan finds his wife even more uncommunicative than usual. After passing out on his bed for 5 hours, he comes downstairs to discover communication has been cut off forever by a hole in the middle of her forehead. Down at the club, passions run high on and off the field. This is a home game for Detective Superintendent Andrew DL, who knows all the players, male and female. But Sergeant Peter Pasco, whose loyalties lie with another code, has a few ideas of his own. This is the first appearance together on any field for DL and Pasco, and already we can feel the electricity of opposite but complementary skills, which will take them into the topmost division. I am so looking forward to reading this book. You have absolutely no idea. Next up would be another Audible book. That is The Shivering Sands by Victoria Holt. This is romantic suspense. It was published in 1969. I did read Victoria Holt growing up, but I do not recall this book in the slightest. And I know my mom, growing up, loved Victoria Holt, so. Okay. Set on the coast of Kent, at a great estate overlooking the infamous Shivering Sands, quicksands that have swallowed entire ships unfortunate enough to sail into them. Caroline Verlaine, a young widow, comes to work at the estate, hoping to discover the cause of the mysterious disappearance of her sister, who had been studying the nearby Roman ruins. Caroline found her employers a strange family, haunted by tragedies of the past, scarred by distrust. Yet she found herself irresistibly attracted to them, especially to the family's dark, moody young scion. But not until she's retraced her sister's fatal steps could she answer the crucial questions about the family's past and her own future. So, again, it sounds fabulous. I think that's everything on my list for now. Nope, there's one more I forgot to pull. I'll do it in the next video. So that is a glimpse into Read Your Life. I am so excited about this challenge set for myself. It will let me read my shelves. It will give me a broad choice of things to read from. So, yeah. Did anything catch your interest? Leave a comment down below, like and subscribe, and I will see you here next time. Let the protagonist pub.